Okay, so now that we have gotten to the place where we've got this functional navigation, we can go, to someplace in a mobile menu and it looks okay. And then up here, one of the things that you'll notice that we didn't actually take the time to fix in the last video is that if in a larger screen, if I go and I fix this, sponsors, see it bumps back out. So one of the first things before we do our Lightbox that we should really do is go back into our code and make an exception. So like here, where we've got section focus and we tell it to put WebKit padding before, this applies to everything, including the smallest screens all the way to the largest screens, because on the larger screens in the media queries, we did not tell it to to change. And so one of the things that we need to do is we need to just copy this rule that says section focus. So I'm going to put it in my clipboard, say copy, and then I'm going to come down and for anything larger than, let's say, I think 600, okay? Anything larger than 600 is where we're going to make the breakpoint. So we're going to go ahead and put this in for WebKit padding before, we're going to put 0. Okay, and let's just save that. And let's see if we go back over here and refresh this. If we go and click on mission, it looks fine. Products, it looks fine. All right, these are all okay. All right, and then if we click on this, it takes us back. Now let's check and make sure it still works on these smaller screens. And it is still doing it just fine right there. Okay? All right, so now what we need to do, and that was a really quick, simple fix. So now what we need to do, and there was one other thing that was bothering me too, is that whenever I am about right here, you'll notice that the navigation doubles up. I have about jQuery, and then here I have about us, whatever. This is all just a big dummy page anyway, but so that I don't have this doubling up, I'm actually going to fix that in my HTML2 so that it's consistent, where it says about us, right, that it actually is going to reflect the button that I click up here. So instead of about jQuery, we'll say about us. And I'm going to save that, and let's check it. And then when I refresh it, it looks okay. All right. All right. So next thing we want to do is I'm going to show you an example of something that's completed. All right. And I showed you this before. Ultimately, what we're going to do now is we're going to create a gallery where, I mean, you actually have already created this gallery. So I'm going to show you how you can go and repurpose that code. And you can grab your gallery information and stick it in this new file. And then you can click on here, and with the Lightbox jQuery script added, you can go ahead and navigate through your gallery. And that's kind of a nice feature. All right, so let's go back to our current page and let's figure out how to integrate that. So I'm going to show you in my Finder, right? In a Mac, it's called the Finder. In a Windows computer, the file system is called Windows Explorer. So you can either open up your Finder or Windows Explorer and navigate to where you had created this jQuery lesson. And if you did, like I showed you how to do, I had told you to go ahead and grab Pen 6, and when we duplicated it, we renamed it Pen 7, and we started working on Pen 7. But also I told you to grab Pen 4 and make a copy here. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to open this up, and we're going to take a peek at the way that we had this set up. So if I open this style sheet, let's just take a quick peek right here. I'm going to open the style sheet just by dragging and dropping it into my brackets window, and and you'll see that it's showing up here in the top. Okay, and one of the things that I will tell you right off the bat is that my new file has its CSS is called styles plural. That's what's showing down here in the bottom, and the one at the top is just called style.css. So that's one of the ways that I'll be able to keep it straight. But also I can see very clearly that it's got a bunch of different information in there. Like this has a bunch of stuff about galleries. And so there are some things I don't want to just take this entire style sheet, right? Because I've already set up my fonts. For instance, in this style sheet, I've already imported fonts. I've already, set some of this other stuff up. So I don't necessarily want to copy everything. What I do want though is anything that is specifically pertaining to the gallery, and it's almost everything. All right, that's almost everything in the file. So if I were to select up here in this top one, where it starts with the class of gallery img, all right, so it's dot gallery and then the img, so that means the image in the gallery, and I go all the way down. Let's see, all the way down here, right? I'm going to copy everything else, right? So I'll put that in my clipboard. Okay, I'm going to copy that. And then I can close this. I don't really need it anymore. And I'm going to create another new style sheet. And I'm going to say File, New. And we're going to paste everything there. And we're going to save it. And this time I'm going to save it in a new folder. And I'm going to call it CSS. And I'm going to save it as my gallery or galleries or something like that. Okay, .css, and I need that .css so that it knows what kind of file it is. So my galleries.css, and you can see once I give it the CSS file extension, it goes and it goes ahead and fixes all of the styles up. Okay, so now I've already got this set up. All right, and I can actually close my galleries. What I need to do is I need to link my Pen 7 I need to link my Pen 7 index file to that gallery style sheet. And so what I'll do is right below my normal style sheet, okay, I'm going to create another link. In fact, what I'll do is I'll copy this one. I'm just going to copy that one. I'm going to paste it right below. And instead of the href being styles.css, it is instead going to be located in the CSS folder. You can see as soon as I start typing CSS, that folder pops up and I select it, and you can see that I've got mygalleries.css. So I'm going to load that right there, and then I'm going to save this file. So now I've loaded the style sheet, but what I haven't loaded is I haven't loaded the actual gallery inside of the HTML. So there's not really a logical place, because this is all a bunch of dummy text anyway. There's not really a logical place necessarily that we'd be putting a gallery, so I'm just going to put it somewhere, kind of just anywhere. So maybe I'll put it where this paragraph is supposed to go. All right, I'm just randomly choosing a place. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here to my Pen 4 folder, and I'm going to open this index file. I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to drag it down here so I can look at it. And I'm going to take as an example, I'm going to just take one of the galleries. I think I'm going to take the second gallery for right now, and I'm going to get everything that's in that UL. Basically, I'm going to actually collapse both of these. Let's collapse the ULs so that we can see what we've got better. All right, so I'm going to select the end of the UL, hold down Shift, and select the beginning of the UL, and that's going to copy everything. So I'll copy that, and then you can see over here, let me show you over here, let me see if I can blow up my screen. In the left panel, you can see that it shows me, even though the file names are the same, it shows me what folder it's in. So I'll know that index.html in Pen 4 is the one that I'm currently using from Pen 4 just to copy some code from. So I want to click on this one for Pen 7 so that I can paste that code that I just copied. And it puts me right back to where I had my cursor before. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to say paste. All right. And it didn't tab everything in the way I wanted, so I'm just going to put my cursor at the end of that ending UL, and I'm going to scroll up, and then I'm going to click the Shift key, and I'm going to click where this LI tag is, and I'm going to tab it in so that it's really clearly nested inside of the UL. All right, so I can see what all that stuff is. Now this actually should show up now because we have the style sheet that's associated with it attached to this index file, right? It's right here. And then we've got the gallery, and because the gallery is currently referencing image files that are not in the file system. They're actually large files that are on the network on a server somewhere. It should actually still show up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to go back over here to my Chrome browser and refresh the page, and I'm going to test it. Okay, and it looks like it's spinning, it's thinking it's because it's got a bunch of picture files now that it's trying to load. And you can see right here that it's loaded. All right, so it did load that. Now if I click it, it doesn't do anything. All it does, because each one of these had like a little hash symbol for the href, all it does is reload the current page. And if, as a reminder, in this overlay, when we did it before, you'll see that the overlay, remember we didn't actually have real links. I told you to put the hash symbol in there as a placeholder. Well, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to use this thing called Lightbox. It's a jQuery framework where we can click on that overlay and make it go full screen so that the picture gets bigger. But what I want to do before we do that is I don't want to grab pictures off the web anymore. And the reason for that is because I want to show you how you can implement this as a gallery where you've got all of your assets inside of your own folder. I think that's kind of important. So what we're going to do is first we're going to come over to Canvas, and in the assignment page, all right, you're going to come down and you're going to find where it says 5 and it says images for gallery and it says gallery1.zip. You're going to click that and you're going to download it. Now I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to make you wait for me to download it, but click that and you'll download it into your images folder for the Pen 7 assignment. So if I were to double click this and isolate, this is our Pen 7 folder, and inside of that you've got a file called images, and so I downloaded that zip file inside of there, and it's called gallery1.zip. Now if I double click it on a Mac, it'll open it up and create a folder called gallery1. On Windows, you might have to extract it by right-clicking depending on your version of the operating system. Hopefully you can just double-click it though if you're on a newer version. And now you can see that it's not just the zip folder there anymore, it's the decompressed version. And if this is confusing to you, you can get rid of this gallery1.zip once it's decompressed, and I'm just going to do that. Or you can keep it, whatever, it's fine. But inside of that, you're going to see pictures that should look pretty familiar to you, where you've got, you know, these images, right? Okay. And so what we're going to do now is, instead of using these absolute links that go out to the internet to find these picture files, we're going to reference the links that are located inside of our own folder. So if I select this and I just delete and I start to type the word images, right, like that, all right, and I say okay, I'll take images, and then it shows me my gallery1 folder. I'll click that, and then I can choose the gallery1 0.jpg, right, and you see that that's a lot less cumbersome for an address, right, and it's also going to load faster. So now what I can do, since well, let's just come down here and we'll do that for these others. Okay, let's go ahead and start to type images, pops it up. And then if you want to do it this way, you can, so that you don't get any misspellings. The other alternative is, if you don't want to have to do that every time, you can just highlight this pathway, this images /gallery1/1.jpg, or whatever the number is, .jpg, copy that, and then you can come over here and you can paste and then just change the number. That's 2, right? And we'll paste it here, and that's 3, and so on. Okay, I'm going to finish this. Okay, so I went ahead and I did the rest of them so you didn't have to watch me type. All right, so I've got them all the way down through images, gallery1, 9.jpg. Okay, so it's 0 through 9. It's 10 images. I'm going to save that, and first of all, let's just make sure that everything still shows up the way that I expect it to. So let's hit refresh. We'll scroll down, and you still see that I get the pictures. And if you wanted to double check, what you could do is you could right-click one of these, inspect it, and in your inspector, you could make sure that it's in fact actually grabbing something that's in your local folder. You see here it says images gallery 1 /3.jpg. So it's not going to that http://sandbox.leekottner.com address, right? It's just grabbing it from your own folder. So you could double check and make sure they're all that way if you want to. All right, but that's how you'll know that it's actually grabbing the right files. Okay, so that's working. Now here's the thing. Like I said before, whenever I click on it, nothing happens except it reloads the page. You can see here how it adds the hashtag at the end, right? So what we want it to be able to do is so that when we click on it, it takes us to the larger image. So let's go back into brackets, and I'm going to show you how you can easily do that, even without the JavaScript stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this picture right here, path, and I'm going to copy it, and right down here where it says href equals, and I just have a hashtag, I'm going to replace that hashtag with that address. Now, if I had a different folder with smaller thumbnails, this would be where it would be showing the thumbnails, and then the larger picture, if it was in a different folder, would have to be the one that's here. But because I'm using the same picture, and I'm just making the thumbnail small right here, then I can actually use the exact same address because it's going to grab the exact same image. All right, and so I can do that for each one of these. I can just go ahead, copy, and then I'll find this href that's associated with it, and I'll paste it and get rid of that hashtag. I'm going to do that for every single one of these, and I'll show you a few so that you can see me doing it. So again, I'm going to copy where it says images all the way to 3.jpg, copy that. I'll find the associated hashtag, oops, right there, and I'm going to paste over that, and so on. Okay, so do that for the rest of these, and that's what I'm going to do so you don't have to watch me. Okay, so I just finished doing that all the way down to the 9.jpg file. I'm going to save that, and so now just as a reminder, what's going to happen is, let's say that we go ahead and collapse all of these list items just so we can see kind of like what we've got as we're looking at them, and it's not too confusing. Okay, all right, and that's the whole list. Okay, so if I open up one of these, let's say, as a reminder, here's what's going to happen. Whenever you click on this anchor link, and this is that overlay that's got the photographer's name, right? When you click on that link, it's actually going to take me to this larger picture. And remember, this overlay right here is on top of the actual image that's showing up on the screen as a thumbnail. It just so happens, as a reminder, that these two files happen to be coming from the same place because this is being styled so that it only shows up as large as a thumbnail. But this one will show up because it's going to go to that actual file. It's going to show up as full size. So let's save. I'll come back over here, hit refresh, and now whenever I hover over something and I click it, it actually opens the full file up for me in the same page. All right, so I hit the back button. All right, so I get to see the picture large. All right, well, that's not ideally what we would want to have happen. You know, if we wanted it to have really good behavior for usability, what we'd want is we'd click it, and instead of going to a whole new refreshed image file, it would actually just open it in a JavaScript window overlay, right? Like it does here, like this one. If I were to click on this, right, it would actually take me to something more like this. When I close it, I'm still back on my same page. So to do that, we're going to use something that's called Lightbox. And you can either go back to Canvas to get the link, or you can type Lightbox like this, Lightbox 2, and it'll probably be the first hit. All right, and it's this one, Lightbox, and it's this guy's name. So click on that, and you're going to come to a page that looks like this. And he shows you some examples down here. And there are two different ways you can do it. You can either have it where you click a picture and it just opens up and you have to close each one, or you can do it where you can have a gallery set, and that's how we're going to do it, as a gallery set, so that you can navigate through them. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to click on download, and you're going to put it into your jQuery lesson folder. I wouldn't put it inside of Pen 7 because what you're going to do is you're going to grab some of the resources out of the download and then you're going to move them into Pen 7. So just download them here. So go ahead and click save. And once it's saved, you can go to the folder and take a look. So I went into my jQuery lesson folder that's got all of my different pens in there that I was using, and I downloaded it there. So I'm going to double click this to unzip it, and it's going to create a new folder called Lightbox 2 Master. And if I look inside of it, it's got all this stuff. All right, I'm going to tell you what you need out of it. Okay, what you're going to need out of it is the stuff that's inside of this SRC or the source file. But I'm going to show you how to extract it successfully and easily. So first of all, inside of the source file, if you look in the JS folder, there's a file called lightbox.js. I'm going to copy that. Let's just go ahead and just copy it, okay? And then I'm going to expand my Pen 7 folder, and I'm going to look inside of Pen 7 in my JS folder that I created earlier, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste it inside of that. Okay, so now I've got a Lightbox file there. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look inside of the CSS file that's in the SRC. Right, so remember right now we're inside of this Lightbox 2 master, and then we're inside of this SRC folder, and then you'll go into that CSS folder, okay? And then there's something called lightbox.css. I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy it. And again, I'm going to go into Pen 7, and I'm going to go into my CSS folder there, and I'm going to paste that. I've got lightbox.css now. Okay, so the next thing that you need inside of this images folder, all right, and when I say images, it's in the Lightbox 2 master, inside of the source file, inside of the images folder, okay? And there are 4 picture files, and these are, you'll notice if I just show you like this and scroll through them, you can see that they are little navigational tools. So there's like the previous button, next button, the loading GIF, and the closing button. Those are the ones that are going to show up for navigational tools inside of the Lightbox. So I'm going to copy these, put them in my clipboard, copy 4 items. I'm going to go back into Pen 7, and I'm going to put those in my images folder as well. So let's paste them. Okay, and I've got those new files there now. So now I'm back inside of Pen 7 and I've got all of these things that I need. So if I look inside of my images, my JavaScript folder, and my CSS folder, you'll see that I've got my Lightbox.js file. I've got my previous, next, loading, and close button inside of my images folder. And I have my Lightbox.css inside of my CSS folder. All right. Now, the thing that's nice about having had all these folders made already is that I am able to keep the same pathway structure that the original Lightbox master used, okay? So what I need to do at this point is I need to go in and my, let's go back here, let's just jump back to brackets. And in brackets, as you can imagine, some of the things that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to link to the style sheet for that particular gallery. So I'm going to copy this where it says link relationship style sheet href is my gallery. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to change it from the my galleries, and not change it, but I'm going to make this new one link up to lightbox.css. Okay, so I'm going to load my CSS right up here for Lightbox. All right, and I'm going to save this, and then I also need to add the JavaScript library that Lightbox is using. So I'm going to come down to the bottom of the page where I'm doing all my JavaScript stuff, and I'm not going to load it inside of this script tag, the one where I wrote all those other scripts. All right, I'm not going to put it there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to collapse that so that it's nice and succinct and smaller. And just down below that, I'm going to put a little comment that says Lightbox script or something like that. In fact, I'm going to put load Lightbox script, All right, I'm going to copy, or I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to put a comment around it. Let's clean that up just a little bit so it looks a little bit nicer. All right, and then I'm going to come down and I'm just going to add a script that's going to look like this. So I'm going to copy this real quick, this one that's referring to the jQuery library. I want to copy that. I'm just going to paste it right here. And instead of loading jQuery library, I've already loaded it, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to type the word Lightbox, and it shows up as lightbox.js. I'll click that, and that's what I actually want. I want my script file that is called lightbox.js that I saved inside of my JS folder. All right. Now, you have to, this is really important, you have to load this Lightbox script after you've loaded the jQuery file. If you put the Lightbox script before the jQuery file, then this will not work. It won't work because it doesn't have the jQuery library to use. Like I said before, it's sort of like trying to speak a foreign language without actually knowing the foreign language's vocabulary. You can't even do it, right? There's nothing to work with. So make sure that you put this Lightbox reference after you've loaded your whole jQuery library. So now I'm going to save that. Now there's one other thing that we need to do, and you want to go back to this guy's website. So let's go back to the Lightbox website. And if you scroll down, he gives you some instructions on what you need to do. First of all, he tells you what I've already done. I've already shown you how to do, that you need to put your CSS link at the top of your page in the head tag. We've already done that. And then he also says towards the bottom of the page, you need to put your Lightbox script tag. We did that too. Now, the next thing that you need to do, oh, and by the way, if you were to copy this straight from this page, you need to pay attention to the fact that this says path/to lightbox.css and it says path to lightbox.js. That's not your real path. What he expects you to do is to actually put the correct path to these. I've already shown you where to put those files, how to put them there, and how to create the HTML tags to link up to them. All right, so you know, that's what this is though. Now, the other thing that we have to do, so last step, is that we have to use this thing called a data tag, a data attribute. And the data attribute is specific to HTML5, and what it allows for is it allows for you to create your own custom attributes that are based on your JavaScript that you're linking up to. And you can pass they're referred to as arguments, but you can pass values or arguments into your JavaScript with these custom data attributes for your tags. Now, it's specifically important to know that you need to put this, his particular data tag is called data-lightbox. So it's data-lightbox equals, and then in quotation marks would be the name of the gallery that you want to associate that picture with. You can call this whatever you want, all right? Actually, it's better references down here. And you can call this whatever you want, okay? So in this case, this guy is saying that these are all pictures from a road trip, right? Well, ours, we don't really have anything, but we can call ours photography or something like that. All right, but what is important is that you want to have this attribute of data lightbox equals, and then something in quotation marks to reference it, and you want to have it as an attribute of the a tag that you're going to click, of that anchor link that you're going to click, so that it knows to open up this picture file using the attributes that you're going to get passed into this from your JavaScript. And what that means is that by saying data lightbox equals road trip, it means that the JavaScript is going to see that when you click on something that's got a data lightbox attribute attached to it, it's automatically going to invoke that JavaScript library and start treating it differently by making it an overlay and opening it in the same window and so on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this where it says data-lightbox equals. I'm going to copy that. I want to go back into my brackets file. All right. And I'm going to find my gallery. So I need to go into one of the overlays. So remember, we've got our overlays inside of a list item in that gallery. And then you'll see like as the overlay inside of that paragraph, we've got an anchor tag, and that anchor tag is what opens the larger image. Remember, we designated that earlier. Well, after you call that image out in the href equals, so after the href attribute is completed, you're going to put a space, and then you're going to paste in data dash lightbox equals, and then in quotation marks, you're going to give it a gallery name. So in this case, let's call it architecture or something like that. All right, because it's a bunch of architectural photography. All right, let's just call it that. Now, because I want to be able to click this and navigate through each image that's in that, I need to make sure that every single one of these has a data lightbox equals architecture attribute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy everything that I just typed, right? So, and including this space right here. So it says space and then data dash lightbox equals, and then in quotes architecture. And the reason I'm copying that space is because that way I won't have to type it every time, because that space is important. Because remember, you have to have spaces in between the ending of an attribute's value and the next new attribute, okay? So I'm going to collapse that, and I'm just going to open up each one of these so that the whole page doesn't jump. And right at the end of this ahref equals images blah 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 .jpg, I'm going to paste my data lightbox equals architecture. All right, I'm going to do that for each and every one of these. All right, and so you can do the same thing. Let me just cruise through this. And make sure you don't accidentally put it in the wrong spot and, you know, like as part of this image or something. Don't put it there. Make sure you're putting it here. Okay. And I'm actually going to let you watch me do this, or you can fast forward through it, just specifically so that you can make sure that you're always putting it in the right place. So this might seem a little bit redundant, but it's really important that this goes in the right place. Otherwise it won't work right. Okay. All right, let's save that. Let's go back now to our page that we're testing. Let's hit refresh. And now whenever I hover this and click one of these, it should open up using this Lightbox tool, which is pretty cool, right? And it lets me navigate through all of them, and I can close it and voila, right? And then you could also add another one of those galleries if you wanted somewhere else in this page. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to end this here. Just make sure that if you do add another gallery, that the one thing you will need to make sure that you do differently, it'll be the same, but you'll need to make sure that your data lightbox value is going to be different. Like this is architecture, so the next one would need to be called something different. Otherwise, what would end up happening is that if I clicked through to this last one, then I would get a little arrow and it would just keep scrolling through into the next gallery. So if you want all of your pictures to scroll through one gallery on the same page, you can do it that way. But if you want them to be discrete and separate entities, then you need to make sure to give them different values for that data lightbox. Okay, that's the end of this JavaScript jQuery tutorial. It showed you how to do a lot of different stuff, and hopefully this will help you in getting something interesting for your final project.